Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 220 of the Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host. Before we get into our guest and topic this evening, please do not forget the Dudes and Beer podcast is brought to you by Amazon's Audible. If you are a fan of books like myself, like our guest this evening, but you just don't have time to turn a leaf anymore, too much time in traffic, too much time knocking around the house, check out Amazon Audible. It's a great service. You get 30 days free whenever you visit audibletrial.com/dudes. You'll get 30 days free. You'll get a couple of free downloads. Guess what? If you buy a book and you don't like it, you can trade it in for the same value. It's great. Stop on by today. Check it out. audibletrial.com/dudes. Tonight in episode 220, I'm so happy to invite Randy Jordan. He's been on the show numerous times. My brother Randy. Welcome, Randy.
Hey, what's up?
We're going to be having a rousing discussion this evening about tarot. Not just about tarot cards, but their history, their tradition, where they come from, what they mean, what is fortune telling, are they only used for fortune telling, things like that. So Randy, tell us a little bit about how it was that you first became exposed to the tarot, how it was that I guess you were first called to kind of dig deeper into the tarot. I mean, we've all seen tarot cards. We've all seen movies like, the first one that pops to mind would be Tombstone.
Yes.
Where they're sitting around on the stormy night when people are getting shot up. The Tower of Babel and death. Oh, those are the things that we're all familiar with.
Yeah, exactly.
But is that all that tarot is? So tell us a little bit about your path, how you've gotten to where you are, where you've come from, and we'll break into the topic a little bit.
Well, first I got to say it's really cool that I'm a special guest. I'm not a co-host tonight. I'm a special guest.
You're a guest, yeah.
Oh, wow. How did I get started in tarot, or how did I first become exposed to it? I was 19, and, I've always been into reading all kinds of interesting stuff. And I was reading one book in particular. I don't even remember what it is now. And this is the one that kind of spurred me into reading about it, because it was talking about tarot cards and kind of the history of them and their place in esoteric studies and all that stuff. I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. And it was just about that same time, actually, that I'd come across a series of books written by Piers Anthony called the Cluster Series that feature the tarot cards very heavily as part of their backstory. And so anyway, I found myself going, as I often do with a lot of things, wow, what is that? I need to find out what that is. This sounds really cool. And of course, this was in the day before the internet, kind of. So I couldn't just hop on and Google what I needed to find out. So off I go to Bookstop. And so that's where I came across my first pack of tarot cards and started studying ever since. It's been almost 30 years now.
Yeah, and by study, what do you? I mean, you mentioned a few things in there. One key word is esoteric.
Right.
A lot of people, know the glazing of that word, but what does it mean in reference to tarot, mysticism, things like that? What is the root of that? Whenever you're talking about
well, I would say, I would kind of jumble a lot of things into there. Metaphysical studies. You might call it occult. I don't like throwing the word occult around just in general, just because so many bad connotations And so,
as you well know, on our show, we prefer the term lost or forbidden knowledge.
there you go.
It's knowledge that at one point was at least commonplace to some people. It was a common practice. It was something that we did that later became anathema.
Right.
Much like we were talking outside before the show. Things like alchemy, that kind of stuff. Alchemy is the root of chemistry, but back in the day, it was seen as a form of witchcraft because you were trying to make gold out of something that wasn't gold.
Right.
You were trying to change the physical matter that, quote unquote, God created into something that God didn't make that.
Right.
So, he made that hay, not gold. For you to make it from hay into gold is going against the will of God. And that was the logic. That was the logic center of that kind of thought.
Right. And I think we forget a lot today that, many of the sciences we have now, especially the hard sciences, like you mentioned, chemistry,
Astronomy comes straight out of astrology originally.
Yeah. And these weren't science 500 or 600 or 1,000 years ago is not the same as science we have now.
Yeah.
Science we have now completely attempts to remove any kind of spiritual aspect from it, or any kind of higher, whatever you want to call it, higher power.
Any kind
aspect.
of deification.
Right. Even though most scientists, I think, will tell you there's really no way. Ultimately, there's no way to get around that.
Even Stephen Hawking,
Right.
Toward the end of his life, came to the understanding. He was a devout atheist for years, folks. But even Stephen Hawking came to the later understanding in his life that there must be, at the very least, an Aristotelian prime mover. There's no way that the Big Bang just happened. Something put it into motion.
Right.
So at the very least, something went poke, and everything else moved out from that point. Whether that was physics, whether that was God, whether that was the universe as an intelligent thing, he didn't know. But he's like, there's something greater than us that caused this to happen.
Right. Well, all science, in the beginning anyway,
Yes.
has been a study not only of the physical universe, but also our place in it and how it affects us. So, like you said, astrology. Not only the study of the heavens. I mean, we know. We've known a tremendous amount about the way the heavens work for hundreds or thousands of years.
Oh, since the time of Babylon.
But there was always some kind of connection to the human experience to that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, the Mayans weren't just practicing hard astronomy.
No.
No. Back in the 1200s or 1000s.
They were decoding the future will of God.
And other things too. But, you look back at
their gods, rather.
What's the word I'm looking for? Not horoscopes, but zodiacs.
Mm-hmm.
Where ancient astronomers or astrologers find some way to connect the heavens to the personal human experience. It's very much the literal interpretation of the esoteric maxim, as above, so below, which is the exact same thing as the Christian wording, on earth as it is in heaven.
Yes.
The exact same.
Yeah.
Jesus taught that.
The exact
Bible
same
teaches
concept.
that. Humanity's taught that for thousands and thousands of years. That what is out there, and we have the scientific, you look at, you can find a million different pictures of things on the microscopic scale replicated almost exactly the same at the macroscopic scale.
Absolutely. And that's where we get the science of fractals. I mean, we're talking about this as though it's something way out there. If you think about it, I mean, if you watch shows like Ancient Aliens all the time, like I do, you'll always hear that maxim of, we've been here before.
Right.
This is a road that we've already been down.
Oh, that's straight out of the book of Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
There's nothing new under the sun.
That's it. And these things, what was once magic is now science. If you took a cell phone back to 1952, you would be a god.
Well, and when you start getting into quantum mechanics, you're finding out just how magical that science is.
Exactly. And we're starting to find out so much about consciousness, the way that we affect the world around us, the way that our tiny little ripple hits the world and bounces back, that kind of thing.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to get into with you with tarot, because for years we've had interesting conversations about tarot, the roots of tarot, where it comes, the way it reflects on society today, the meaning of the artwork. I've been to a workshop with you before. You just recently went on a retreat to study a little bit deeper and to break things open a little bit deeper. And that's what I wanted to have you on the show about, was to go into some of the history of tarot, how it reflects into modern society today.
Yeah.
Dispelling some of the myths, like people thinking it's only used for fortune telling.
Right.
Because you don't use it for fortune telling.
I don't. No.
I don't use tarot for fortune telling. You got me into, and just so people can join along this evening, feel free to hop online and download the app Galaxy Tarot.
Galaxy Tarot.
It's dope. Great. I've paid for the free version because I've enjoyed it so much over the last few years since you first introduced me. But
you paid for the free version?
Or I paid for the full version.
Yeah, it's only like $5.
Yeah, it's extraordinarily cheap, but you get some great spread options. Yeah. And we'll get into a little bit of what a spread is, that kind of stuff. The main thing I use it for is the card of the day.
Yes,
and
I got it as a widget on one of my screens on my phone.
Yeah.
It pulls up a random card for the day.
And I use it whenever I'm on the road. I pick it up, I look at it, and I spend my first 5-10 minutes of the day just kind of gazing at this card and thinking about it. Looking at the imagery in it, looking at the artwork. How does that impact me right now? How does the image on the card relate to what I'm going through? A lot of the things that you've taught me over the years about really breaking down the artwork and getting into it and really understanding our connection to this world. So get into a little bit of that.
Yeah, well, for listeners who don't know, who may not be completely familiar, the tarot, as we refer to it today, is a deck of 78 cards divided into two parts. There's what are called the major, what are called, divided into two parts called arcana. You've got the major arcana, which is 22 cards, and the minor arcana, which is 56. The minor arcana, the 56 cards, is just like a deck of playing cards.
Yeah.
With the addition of one court card added per suit. So you've got, in our playing cards today, we've got hearts, clubs, spades, and diamonds.
Yeah.
In the tarot iconography, you would have coins or pinnacles, wands or batons, swords, and cups. And they're analogous to the traditional playing card symbols that we see. So spades would be the swords, and diamonds would be the coins or pinnacles, and cups would be the hearts, and the wands would be clubs.
Yes.
So, and those playing cards have been around for centuries. Like the mid-14th century is when playing cards first started making their way into Europe, or first started being produced in Europe. Just 52 cards with what are called pips, just little graphical pictures. Like eight of diamonds has 8 little diamonds on it.
Yeah, they did not have Arabic numerals on them, Roman numerals, anything like that. It was just a pictogram.
Yeah, and so they were used for various games. And somewhere about 100 years after that, you started seeing rich families that could afford to have custom-made cards, adding what were called trumps or triumphs in the games that they were playing back then, to supplement the regular playing cards that they had. So they'd have all these pictures. It could be family members. It could be pictures of the queen or the king or whatever. or the Pope. I mean, there were all kinds of different picture cards that were added to play various games. One of them is, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, Tarachi or Taraki, which is where tarot. The name tarot comes from. It's that's the game that popularized this type of card deck. And eventually, I want to say it was probably, I got it written down here. In the late 15th century, in Milan, this family commissioned a deck. It was the Solabusca family. It's now famous as the Solabusca Tarot, which is the first example of a tarot that was 78 cards. It had 22 major cards, or the trumps, or major arcana, and the 56, not just pip cards, but they were fully illustrated minors. The minor arcana, the 56, which was kind of a big deal. That was big time. It wasn't just 5 little dots on a card. I mean, this was a fully illustrated. It took a lot of money to make this.
Yeah.
But that's the first example that we see of this kind of tarot deck, and we won't see it again for 400 years.
Oh wow!
Until the 20th century, when our modern, what we would call our modern tarot deck, was created. So anyway, that's kind of a background of where the tarot got started. They were used to play this game, Taraki or Tarachi, that was similar to bridge. And so it was a parlor game. And just like with most things, eventually things start delving into telling fortunes. Okay, the ladies would sit around or whatever, and like you said in Tombstone.
The world of spiritualism started coming about.
Right. Well, even kind of before then. Even before spiritism and all that stuff in the late 19th century. You had people like Court de Gabeline, who took the tarot cards and started finding correspondences with them to Egyptian studies, to the point where he said that the tarot originated in Egypt and was given to the Catholic Church at the time, that the pictures in the tarot depicted
religious moments.
To
an extent.
Egyptian spiritual secrets.
Yeah. And
that was passed on to the church, and then the church hid it, and that gypsies started going around playing and telling fortunes with the cards, disseminating this special knowledge kind of under the radar. And there's no historical evidence that the tarot originated or came out of Egypt or any special mystery school or anything like that.
Yeah.
Egypt was a fad at the time because of archaeology and stuff there. And back in that day, you could say, oh man, this stuff came out of Egypt, and everybody would believe you if you wrote it well enough.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you believed it yourself, you might have made that logical jump. And I don't think literary factualism was the same then as it is now.
Yeah, there definitely wasn't the research like what occurs now.
No, they didn't have that back then. So anyway, all that's to say that sometime around the end of the 18th century, we see the first associations between the tarot and mysticism. Not just a parlor thing of telling story or telling fortunes based on what was in the cards, but these esotericists, metaphysical investigators, occultists, if you want to call them that, who were researching all of these different spiritual paths and found in the tarot a way to connect those things. Like Egyptian mythology,
yes,
Hebrew Kabbalah,
Astrology. The elements.
Greek elements, earth, air, fire, water, and ether. The tarot, this little deck of 78 cards, became a way to bridge these different knowledge bases, and in some way became a way to teach those pictographically. So you could take a card and go, this is the Five of Wands, and you can, I don't know exactly how they would have done that, but teach those spiritual truths that they needed to teach just through that picture.
Sure.
And however,
it's like telling a parable, but
right. However, that particular mystery school interpreted those, right. And probably the most famous to have done that was the Golden Dawn.
Yes.
And which is the root of where we get our modern tarot deck. You look up tarot, you look at the Galaxy Tarot app, the pictures that are all there are from the deck that was created by Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith and published in 1909. And both Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith were members of the Golden Dawn. She was an artist, and he was I won't say the brains, but he was the writer. He was the writer. He was the researcher. He was an adept.
Yeah, he was one of their high priests, if I'm not mistaken. If you want to put it in that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was. I don't know if he was high priest or not, but if they even have that nomenclature in their order. But anyway, he was the researcher. He was the one who was writing the books and doing all the head stuff, and bridged a lot of these things and kind of dictated how the cards were to be drawn. And like I said, this deck, the what's called the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, or the Waite-Smith deck, was the first deck of its kind to see print in 400 years, with the major arcana, the 12 cards or 22 cards in the major arcana, and the 56 minor cards being fully illustrated with pictures. So everything that's been, and since then, and I'd say probably in the last 50 years, there's just been an explosion of different tarot decks.
Yeah.
There's thousands of different decks in print. Probably 90% of them are all based on
the Rider-Waite,
the Waite-Smith deck iconography. Or they're called Waite-Smith clones. Yeah. Because it's the same pictures, just drawn different ways.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Interpreted in a different way.
Right. You've got everything now from unicorn tarots to the tarot of cats.
You've got angel tarots. You've got spiritual tarots where it's like, here's your spirit animal and what's it telling you.
Yeah. Those would not be, I don't know. You find different schools of thought on this, but I would not call those a tarot.
Yeah.
I would call a tarot deck to be a deck that's divided between major and minor cards, and 78, sometimes 77, 80. Some artists may throw in a couple of other cards. But you start getting into cards that are, what are probably more properly termed oracle decks.
Okay.
Like the Lenormand, which is really, really big. And angel oracle decks. And I've got a really cool one stashed away somewhere called the Quantum Tarot. And it's not a tarot deck by any means, but it's got some really cool sacred geometry stuff that is just really cool to look at. So a lot of it's mainly just artistic interpretations what we've got here. So I would tell anyone who's wanting to pick up a deck to say, oh yeah, I want to check out what this is all about. Get a Waite-Smith deck. Become familiar with that, because 99% of all the books out there that are published on tarot
are based on
the Waite-Smith deck. Yeah. And that's for several reasons. It's at the time of its creation, it was created with a specific purpose. It was very heavily researched. It's almost the distillation of an entire esoteric mindset behind it. This is distilling all of Arthur Waite's knowledge, if you will, into this deck of 78 cards. So it's very, very heavily categorized. It's rife with symbolism, which is what makes it so cool. You know, yeah, okay, I like cats, so I've got a deck of 78 cards that's got cats. I've seen baseball tarots that people study with and read from, and I'm like, hey, if baseball is your thing, cool. But it's I don't, that doesn't resonate with me. I can't get into that.
Yeah, it's a bit much. And I'm the same way. Whenever I guess it was a few years ago, you gave me a Thoth deck, which I love. I love the artwork in it. It's absolutely gorgeous. But I still, whenever I go to do a meditation at home or something without my app, I turn to the Waite-Smith.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm familiar with. That's the one that, quite honestly, it's gotten to where, without necessarily looking up an interpretation, I can at least glean things from it.
Right, exactly.
By looking at the background in the picture, looking at small details, flowers in the garden, that kind of, are the flowers living? Are they dying? Are they in between?
Yeah.
You know,
well, and that's
things like that.
That's the wonderful thing about it, is that particular deck, and even the Thoth deck, but the Waite-Smith deck shows people doing stuff.
Yeah.
You can relate to that. So just to get into
let's do that a little bit.
Get into the idea, or the discussion, I guess, of what are we using this for?
Yeah.
You mentioned the Tombstone movie.
Sure.
And Maddie there in her tent or house reading the fortunes and being all distraught and everything about it. It's very easy to say that tarot is a tool for divination, divining stuff. That could be, you look up the word divinate, or you look up the verb divine in the dictionary, and you'll see a definition for discovering the future. Actually, I've got it written here: to discover or declare something. To discover or declare something in the future by divination, or to prophesy. The next definition is to perceive by intuition or insight. And to me, I don't use the tarot, I don't study the tarot as a means of finding out my future.
Yeah.
I don't believe, I don't want to say I don't believe that. Sure, there are some people that may have psychic faculties that can glean that stuff, you know. I've got no way to disprove that.
I've had more than one premonition in my day that came to be.
Sure. And I know there are many people out there that can proclaim stuff like that. We know it's a gift of the Holy Spirit.
But I think what's interesting, though, in that definition specifically is the prophecy part. Because much like the tarot, I think people misinterpret the word prophecy and the word prophet. Like declaring Nostradamus a prophet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but by all technical definition, he's not. He's a scryer, most definitely. He scryed underwater. He tried to divine the future. But the difference is a prophet gives you an option out.
Yeah.
A prophet says, if you don't do this, this could happen. Not this will happen, but this could quite possibly happen, and it's not going to be a good thing. But if you stop this, at least you could curtail it.
Right.
There was no option out in the quatrains of Nostradamus. It just was.
Sure.
That's how it is. So it leaves no room for interpretation of prophecy in all actuality, whereas the divination being used here, the term prophecy being used here is absolutely the fact of you're trying to use these to gain insight into what's going on with you.
Right. But I don't even want to muddy the waters with that definition of prophecy. I want to completely get rid of that for this discussion because
all right.
I don't want to talk about. I want to point out the fact that tarot can be used for something completely separated from looking into your future.
Yes.
At all.
Yeah.
I prefer to go to that second definition, to perceive by intuition or insight. And primarily, I study the tarot for introspection. I study the tarot and I reflect on the tarot and I look at it as a way to gain insight and sharpen my intuition, if you want to call it that, my own faculties.
Yeah.
To make myself more perceptive out in
the world around
the world and in my daily experience.
Yeah.
The very common thing to do is to draw a card for the day. Say it's the Two of Swords, which shows a lady sitting blindfolded, kind of on I imagine it's like a pier. She's sitting on a seat, and she's got two swords. She's blindfolded, and she's holding these swords kind of at a cross, or an X across her chest. And so, say I draw that card for the day, and my first thing is, I could journal about it. I could look at the card and go, what's this card trying to tell me? I could look at the imagery in it. I could see if are there birds in the background. What do the birds have anything to do with?
Yeah, is there a ship passing by?
How does this card strike me? And you begin this internal dialogue with this. If you use it as a journal prompt,
yes,
you can begin this internal dialogue with what is it that I'm seeing in this card, and is this reflected anywhere in my life right now? The Two of Swords, this whole suit of swords have to do. It's connected to the element of air, the Greek element of air, and has to do with mental things. And the Two of Swords indicates like maybe a period of withdrawal to make a decision.
Yeah,
you're making a choice between two things. So you start using it as a way to connect all of these different things inside your mind and go, or you could draw that card and go, this is my card for the day. What do I need to think about? Are there any decisions in my life right now that I need to really take some time to sit back and reflect upon? She's got a blindfold over her eyes. Why?
Yeah. Because
maybe she needs to cut out all the other crap that's around her in order to make this decision or to put a proper focus on what. So that kind of stuff is what I find the tarot to be useful for.
Yeah.
And then you could do something at the end of the day where you either keep that card and at the end of the day spend a few minutes reflecting on
what you saw
yeah. How did this card manifest today?
Yeah, what you experience that
right. What situations came up today that remind me of this card? Or you could draw a completely random card at the end of the day and go, what did this I just drew the Seven of Pentacles. It shows a guy sitting there. He's kind of in a garden. He's got these.
It's one of my favorite cards. I love that card.
I love it. He's kind of leaning on he's got a hoe, like a garden hoe.
Yeah.
That he's kind of crossing his arms and just leaning on, and he's looking down at.
Very much beholding the fruits of his labor.
Exactly. And That's so that's something that can give you pause to go, hey, what is it that I've been working on in my life that maybe I need to just sit back and appreciate. What is it with my work, or what is it that with my, the Pentacles, the suit of Pentacles focuses around home things and security and finances and money.
And, labor.
So this guy here could be investing in the stock market, and he's sitting here watching his money grow, or looking at the money in his 401k, or he's looking at his career that he's been in for 20 years.
Yeah, you could have just planted new seeds and maybe thinking about starting a new job.
Who knows? What these pictures allow us to do is to make those connections or those synapses in our brain fire that may not immediately fire together just at random.
Yeah.
It forces us to look at this and make connections, and through that connections spark intuition, spark creativity, spark insights that we may not have had before.
Yeah.
And
forks in the road.
Yeah. That's where I find the real transformative power of the tarot. I don't. It's nothing for me to go into. I mean, I don't want to say it's nothing, but I don't want to discount anybody else's experience or whatever. But I could go into a psychic with a neon sign on the road, and go in and say, "Hey, I need my cards read," and she can tell me what I need to know, and then I walk out, and so what?
Yeah.
That's great. I just paid a person to tell me, quote unquote, my fortune, or my future, if that's what it is, or give me something to think about. And then what? It's my recommendation would, for anyone that wants to pick these up, is to make it a daily thing and make it something that's internalized.
Yeah.
Don't try to read your fortune with it. Don't try to find out if your boyfriend or girlfriend's going to break up with you. That's not what it's about. Now, if you want to pick this up and go, you know what, my relationship's having problems right now. What should I focus on, or what kind of insight can I get from what I'm experiencing right now? Sure. I could pull a card and sit there and look at I just randomly pulled the Tower, which is in a relationship spread, maybe not the most auspicious card, if you want to call it that. It's got this tower with a lightning bolt from the heavens coming down, and it's struck the tower, and this man and woman are falling out of the top of it.
Yeah.
It's scary looking, but it's a card of transformation. This is something from heaven coming down and
radically changing things.
And radically changing, right. Radically changing.
Radical violent change.
Not necessarily violent, and I mean,
no, but it's going to be something that moves things. It's going to shake things.
Sudden. It's going to shake things. It's going to be a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It's going to be something that could rock your world.
Very, very much like the misunderstanding of the card of death from the major arcana.
The death card is
consistently misunderstood, and it's one of those. It's really more. I've always interpreted more as like a dying unto oneself.
Yeah.
Being willing to let something go so you can move forward. Being willing to recognize that it's time to move forward.
Right.
That it's time to let old things go, let the old you die, and let the new you be reborn.
Yeah.
And that's why, at least in my mind, whenever you look at the card of death, on his banner flag is a rose.
Right.
Like, there's the sign of life. There's the sign of blessing, the sign of fragrance and beauty in the world.
Right.
Being carried by death.
Carried on a big black flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With exactly. And in white, so it's stark. It's in contrast.
Right.
It speaks so many volumes.
It's yin and yang. It's alpha and omega. It's beginning and end.
And that's one of the only cards that's almost all black and white. whenever you look at it. Like there's a sand colored underneath of the horse, things like that. But almost the entire card itself is black and white, other than the sky in the background and the sand in the desert.
Death's on his white horse.
Yes,
and the flag is black and white, like you said. It's got a picture of a child. Mm-hmm. There's a king laying on the ground who's dead. There's a picture of it. It's got this child looks like it's got some flowers, just kind of looking up at death. Yeah. There's a lady on there who looks like she's trying to faint, and then there's a kind of a papal figure or a bishop type figure. Looks like he's almost pleading with death, and it's just it's a reminder on one hand that death comes to all of us.
That's right. Memento mori, tempus fugit.
That's right.
Remember death. Time flies.
But it's also a reminder. In the background, you see a sun coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, between the two towers. There's two towers back there that kind of call to mind the moon card. But you've got this skeletal figure. He's very scary looking. This card's called Death. But in the ultimate interpretation of it is that death is not the end of anything. It's the beginning. It's a
be
transformation.
Prepared for change.
That's right.
Look for change. Be ready for change. Right. Accept change. And that's whenever you start looking at the figures in the card, there's the lady passing out who's utterly afraid. There's the dude that's already dead. There's the kid that's looking up, like looking to the future, knowing his mortality at the infancy, right. Knowing that it will end much like the king one day and people will mourn like her. There's just so much in there that you literally do not need a book to interpret.
And that's something else.
It's very much like looking at a piece of stained glass,
right?
Looking at a piece of iconography.
Looking at a piece of
just Renaissance art.
You could look at a piece of art by Mark Rothko that's just some painted rectangles, and people will sit there and look at that stuff for hours, and just let it sink in and go, wow, what does this mean? Yeah. What does this mean? What could this mean? What does this mean to me? I'll just sit there and look at that shit forever. Yeah. And so, you don't have to study all of this stuff to use the tarot. Yeah. You don't have to study Eastern or Western mysticism. Yeah. You don't have to study anything from, any particular mystery schools. You don't have to study numerology. You don't have to study mythology.
You don't have to get into the Kabbalah of the Golden Dawn.
Or Hebrew Kabbalah.
Yeah.
You don't have to, astrology.
Keys of David or Solomon.
I don't think there's any of that in the regular tarot.
No, there isn't. I'm just going down the esoteric rabbit hole there.
Yeah.
The things that
you don't have to study all of that stuff in order to pick up the deck of cards and go, what insights do I get from this picture?
Yeah.
I want to come back on kind of where that information comes from.
Okay. But
or where it could come from. I don't know for sure, but I've got an idea. Anyway, take a step back real quick because we're talking about majors and minors. And I want to, and how the suits and everything, just a little housekeeping thing on how the cards are set up. We said there were 22 major cards. They're numbered 0. Bless you.
Thank you.
0 to 22. 0 is the Fool and 22 is the World. And all the cards in between depict, if you want to go back to that as above, so below, or on earth as it is in heaven setup, the major arcana cards, 0 through 22, depict the major forces in life, archetypes. The mother, the father.
Sun, moon, death.
Sun, moon, exactly.
The Hierophant.
Right. The forces.
The emperor.
The forces in creation that
you have no control over.
Correct. Well, not necessarily that, but the archetypes.
Okay.
The overarching spiritual things to do with life. The minor arcana is the 4 suits that correspond to earth, air, fire, and water. And so you might consider the major arcana as being the ether, the spiritual cards. Okay. In the Greek system, the ether is the stuff that's out there.
Yeah. Can't touch it.
Right. So the minor cards, the 4 suit cards that correspond to earth, air, fire, and water, are numbered 0 through 10, or 1 through 10. I'm sorry. Each one begins with an ace, just like our playing cards do. Ace through 10, and then there are what are called the 4 court cards. So you'd have in the Waite-Smith deck, anyway, you have a page, a knight, a queen, and a king. The minor arcana depicts our everyday crap. Everyday run-of-the-mill stuff. Finances, love, emotional life, our ambitions.
Yeah.
Life
our journey.
Emotions. Just the day-to-day stuff. So the swords deal with the stuff that's in our head, and the pinnacles or coins deal with stuff that surround our physical comfort and security and home and finances, and the cards in the suit of cups reflect things that are tied to our emotional states or our daily emotional life, and the suit of wands deal with stuff that's kind of our ambitions, our
struggles.
Well, so not our struggles, but our the things that inspire us.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Think about
yeah, because there's what is it? The 5 of wands. That's the man holding the wand with 4 around him, looking out on the ocean, like looking out on the horizon.
That would be the 3.
Is that the 3? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm nowhere near the adept that you are at remembering all those. But that's another one of my favorites, because to me the imagery is like, I'm holding this, I have this, and the future is in front of me. What do I do? Well, do I go with what I'm holding on to? Do I go with what's on my right? Do I go with what's on my left?
Right. You know, one of the coolest things you can do is take a deck of cards and lay them out in order
by suit.
Lay out each suit, 1 through king, and lay out the majors, 0 through 22. But specifically the minor cards, because I think so much emphasis is given to the major arcana and the high spiritual things. It's really cool to see the story that plays out in the minor cards, in the suits, just in the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
Because you can easily look at those things and relate to it. Here's the 7 of wands. This dude holding his staff, and he's trying to beat down 6 other staffs.
Yeah, he's on top of a hill where they're all trying to reach him, and he's totally going king of the hill on it.
Right. Right. We've all been there. We know that.
And I guess that's why I've always associated clubs with struggle.
There's several cards depicting
strifeful
situations.
Yeah, it seems to go a lot with like toiling decisions to me. It seems to go a lot with that theme. It seems to go a lot with the idea of like struggle with decision in life, struggle with moving things.
Hey, you want some more of this White Walker?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. By the way, folks, we're enjoying a few snorts of some nice White Walker scotch by Johnny Walker. We decided to, since we're talking mystical and esoteric things, go Game of Thrones this evening with our beverage choice. So Johnny Walker White Walker with us.
Right, and it's being served out of a House Stark decanter.
That's right. Because you may as well go with the winners.
Because I'm a freaking nerd that way. That's why.
But I think one of the things that people overlook, Randy, like you were saying, the major arcana is what people are so familiar with. Death, the magician, the devil, wheel of fortune.
The fool.
The fool, the hanged man. Things like that. But so much like spirituality in life comes through this concept of the everyday. We lose track of the everyday. We lose focus on the everyday. It's so easy to go through life without remembering the blessings you have,
right,
without remembering the things to be thankful for. And that's what the minor arcana shows us. That's what the minor arcana is there to teach us, is that, yes, there are these overarching things that you can do almost nothing about.
Right.
You can, if the king decides that there's a new tax, guess what? There's just a new tax. Exactly. There's nothing you can do when the emperor says that. When the Hierophant says, this is the rule of faith, that's the rule of faith. There's nothing you can do about that. You cannot run from death and taxes. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
It will always catch you.
Right.
What you have to do is focus on the daily. If you focused on the future for the rest of your life, you will be lost, man.
Well, and again, it's a whole duality thing. It's two parts of the same thing. The major arcana is up here. That's our spirit. Our spiritual life is up here. It's in this realm, and the two intermix. There's
Absolutely.
a little bit of overlap.
Sure.
But we live down here.
Yeah.
We live in the minors every day.
Well, and it's something that I was explaining to a friend of mine on Facebook today. He was like, I wish the world could just calm down for like a month so that my anxiety, my stress, everything about how the world is awful right now would just subside for a little while.
The world won't calm down.
And I told him, I was like, listen, man, I'm an empath by nature. Like, I pick up on emotions. I exude emotion like crazy. Like, people feel my vibe. I was like, you have to understand. I was like, I had to come to the point of knowledge years ago that short of going to Darfur, there's nothing I can do for people in Darfur.
Right.
My job is to worry about me. I can't help other people if I'm not full. If my battery isn't recharged, I can't be there for you when you call me. Or like when my buddy Mike called me today and was like, hey man, I just need to talk to somebody. If my cup wasn't full, what do I have to give him?
Right.
You know, and I was like, you really do have to step back and you have to learn that take care of you. It sounds selfish, but if you take care of you and make sure that you're fulfilled, you're happy spiritually, you're okay with what's going on in your life, that resonates. At that point, the world is a pond and you're the tiny pebble, and all you can do is make a splash and watch the ripple in your general direction and hope that it hits the edge of the pond and comes back.
Right.
Or that it hits another stone along the way and causes another ripple to go off that way. It's like, aside from that, there's nothing you can do.
Yep.
Nothing. So you've got to learn to see that on a daily basis. You've got to learn to look for the good on a daily basis. Otherwise, the world's going to eat you alive.
Well, and unplug the rest of that crap.
Yeah.
Turn off your news app notifications and turn off your Facebook notifications.
For a long time, I actually practiced Black Sabbath. For a good 6 months, whenever I was on broadcast, I practiced Black Sabbath, where it was like, when I was not on broadcast on a Sunday, I did not look at my phone. Like, I'd watch TV or something like that, but like internet, all that.
Yep.
I'm back in 1984, dude.
Nice.
I don't have the internet. I don't have PlayStation. I don't have a phone like that. If an emergency calls, I'll answer it. But aside that, I'm not calling anybody. I'm not Facebooking. I'm not texting. And I think we've lost the idea of throttling down like that. I think we've lost the idea of waking up intentionally 5 minutes early. Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm kind of going back to the seminary in my mind and the idea of specified morning prayer. You're waking up 30 minutes in the morning with the intent of meditating and praying. And you can make that prayer to anything you want, folks. You can make it to the tree outside. You can make it to your dog. I don't care, as long as it's something outside of yourself.
Right.
As long as you're trying to recognize something outside of yourself and your connection to it.
Well,
and how you resonate with that.
And there's power in the intentionality of that.
Exactly.
And doing it intentionally.
Exactly.
Carving out that space.
Yes. saying
time.
This time is sacred.
Right. You only get 24 hours of time in a day. Nobody gets 25.
Yeah.
And and when you purposefully make that time and make it and can make it a discipline, I'm horrible at doing it. Horrible.
Yeah. It's hard to do it,
but it's
not easy.
Yeah.
Like I'm here to tell you, I had nothing better to do at 5:40 in the morning than wake up for morning prayer. Nothing better, other than maybe fishing. But I didn't have a fishing pole at the time. Like I've always said, the only reason I get up at 5:30 in the morning is to make money or kill something. Right. Either to go hunting, fishing, or go to work. Right. One of the three.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I remember even priests making fun, like, "Oh God, they're still doing that? Man, God isn't even awake at 5:30 in the morning. Right. Like he's got an answering machine taking your call." Yeah. But you're absolutely right. It is that intention. It's the intention you put behind it, and that's so much what the tarot is. If you are putting the intent of fortune telling behind it, if you're putting that weight on it. And I've tried to explain in episodes like where we were talking about the power of good intent and positive thinking with Richard Spazoff a couple episodes ago, where it's like when you have a specific purpose and a stated purpose, it's different. When you're just shooting blind in the dark, how are you behooving anybody?
Right.
And to go through with an intent. I think is really the key. It's about the intent. It's about why are you doing it?
Right.
Why are you doing it? Why are you exploring this? Are you exploring it? Because if you're exploring it to try to get answers that will utterly change depending on the decisions you make, that's why we can't tell the future. Right. The only way you could tell the future is if the decisions you were going to make were already made.
Right.
If you wake up in a bad mood tomorrow, your decision-making process may just be different than it is today.
Yeah, I don't want to paint things with a broad stroke, but I'm inclined to say that in most cases, if you go and have your cards read and somebody says, "Oh, you're going to marry a tall, dark stranger,"
that's a third of the world.
I don't want to make light of it because I know there's plenty of people who have whatever.
There are many people that have the sight,
many
that
people
have the gift,
that have been able to say things and elucidate things that I have no idea where that knowledge comes from.
Most
I
definitely.
have some idea, but it's not something that a deck of cards can give you.
No. It's something that your own practiced intuition can give you.
It's something that going and having my fortune read, even once a week, is not going to help me grow.
No.
It's not going to grow me. It's not going to increase my own spiritual goal, to put it in an alchemical phrase. It won't help me reach that golden state. My own introspection, my own interior investigation, at least to me, is what makes me grow spiritually. And so that own internal work.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've not found a better tool for that than tarot. And maybe that's just me. I think it's just a really cool tool to use.
Yeah.
And back to where that knowledge comes from, that intuition.
Yeah.
I don't want to misspeak this, but Carl Jung was, I don't want to say was a heavy proponent of the tarot, because but he drew in several instances.
He was the father of the modern archetype. Whenever you're talking about a psychological
he coined
archetype.
the term archetype.
Yeah.
Much of what we now view as psychology today is Jungian based.
Yeah.
It's all from his studies. It's all from
dream
his research.
interpretation.
him and Freud, but a lot more of it, at least from what I've been able to see, is Jungian.
Yes.
And he saw the tarot, at least from what I've been able to read. A lot of people ascribe a lot more emphasis on his vouching for tarot than is actually physically there in his writings, but he saw the tarot as a very valuable tool into probing the subconscious mind. And not only the subconscious, what he called the personal subconscious, but the collective, not the personal unconscious, but the collective unconscious. Yeah,
the Akashic records, so to speak.
Call it that.
Yes. If you want to go into the Edgar Cayce world with it, it's very much that
the world of ideas.
Well, it's that hermetic concept of everything is the same. I'm no different from you. We both have the same hang-ups. Despite what country you're from, despite what country I'm from, we're both going to have a narrowed point of view in some way.
Right. Well,
and that comes from our experience.
Yeah.
That comes from what we've experienced. Very, very Jungian. And the fact of our construct and our archetype of the universe comes directly from our experience. And that's where a lot of that collective subconscious comes from, is the fact that our collective experience has built something beyond the personal.
Well,
and built something that we as a humanity can look at in a larger scope and distill it down to our personal understanding.
In a way, what the collective unconscious is this racial knowledge that doesn't know time. It's knowledge that has been there. It's knowledge that we're born with. People may say, "Oh, you're no one is born a blank slate." It's been proven, and this is becoming proven.
Yeah, epigenetics.
It's been proven
all over.
That it's been proven in the animal world. Bees are born, and you call it instinct or whatever. It's racial knowledge that's given to them.
Mm-hmm.
You may call it genetically. Perhaps the genome is the way that the physical body collects that knowledge. But birds aren't taught how to migrate.
Yeah.
They instinctively know how to do it.
Well,
bees aren't taught how to gather pollen and make hexagonal hives.
No, they also aren't taught, you're a worker bee, you're a hive bee.
Right.
It depends on where in the hive they're born and what temperature it is and everything else as to how they genetically develop and what they become.
They don't go to school to learn how to harvest pollen or to do their thing. It's in their biology.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's a bee born today or a bee born 100 years ago.
They do what bees do.
That's what they do. Yeah. Migratory birds aren't taught how to migrate.
No.
Whales are not taught how to migrate. They know a whale could be. I don't know the first thing about whale migratory patterns, but a whale, if they migrate from Alaska down to Mexico.
Well, yeah, Alaska down to the South Pole. That's exactly what killer whales do down the Pacific coast.
A whale born in Alaska, by virtue of its very being, knows where to go.
Yeah, it's like a salmon.
It's not.
It's like a salmon.
Like a salmon.
How does that salmon 10 years down the line?
Salmon's not even a higher level mammal like
find the exact same birthing pool that it came from.
This is stuff. So we have literally untold examples of this in the natural world, in the animal world. It's the same thing for humans.
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely,
it is. There's a repository of this information.
Yeah.
And, you could say maybe this is where natural law comes from.
It's like
this is where the universal
so true.
Aberration, not aberration, what's the word I'm looking for? Abhorrence of murder comes from.
Yeah.
It's a virtually universal human thing. Murder is wrong. We're instinctively designed to not do that.
Yeah.
It's in our makeup to not do that. Except in certain aberrant cases.
Well, and it's interesting. Like, I posted a meme picture today on Dudes and Beer. If you like what we're talking about tonight, folks, if you like articles, news, discussions, things like that, go check out the Dudes and Beer Facebook group. That's what it's all about. A lot of the episodes that we do, I base off of what goes on in the Dudes and Beer Facebook group. I'll literally post articles. When people chat about them and start conversation threads, I'll make a note and be like, people are interested in this. I'm going to talk about that on the show. I'm going to get a guest about it. The one that I posted today that a friend of mine was like, that's probably the most beautiful picture I ever saw, was a meme picture of a small African-American child holding the cheeks of a Caucasian boy, and the Caucasian boy had his hands around him like he was hugging him. And the caption was, racism is not instinctual. It's learned. Stop teaching it.
Right.
Nobody is born with hate.
No.
We are not.
No.
We are born a blank slate of empty, unconditional love. We learn to hate.
Right.
We learn to hate. So that's a prime example. If you go into a room, and I learned it years ago working with 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, stuff like that. You want a life-changing day, folks, whether it's realizing what a parent goes through or a mother goes through on the daily, or realizing what a teacher goes through, go spend a day in a pre-K classroom. And you will see some of the most interesting conversations between children. I've told people for years, I've taught ages 4 to 40. The only difference is by age 40, you should know better than to pull people's hair. At 40 years old, we are just as childish as a 4-year-old, and at 4 years old, we're just as deep as a 40-year-old.
Right.
I've heard some of the deepest questions in the world come out of a 4-year-old in my religion and music class, and some of the most, like, are you shitting me right now? How did you make it to 40 and live? Come out of a 40-year-old, you know, where it's like, are you shitting me, man? I have people all the time contact me 2-3 weeks after a show at 45, like, hey, what were the hours I worked? Like, you didn't keep track of that? You're a grown-ass man. That's the thing. These are things that are learned.
Right.
These are behaviors that are learned. They aren't ingrained in us. They aren't something that we're born with. We aren't born with the concept of judgmentalism.
No.
That's something that's ingrained into us to say, I disrespect what you think and what you believe.
Right.
I fully respect what any like. And hey, here's an announcement: if any of you listeners out there are flat earthers, I want to hear your story. I want to hear what you believe and why you believe it. That is what's wrong with our world right now. We're so willing to judge everybody else, but we're not willing to stop and just shut up and listen to why somebody believes what they believe.
Right.
And leave it at that. Don't argue the point. Don't try to sell them on an idea. Just go, wow, that's interesting.
Right.
I never knew that about you. And accept it and be okay with it. And be cool with that person for believing it.
Right.
Because that's what we're supposed to do. And I really think that the tarot is a great path to that. I really think that through my experience with it, the limited experience that I have, it has opened my mind, which was already open. But it's opened my mind to new twists, new understandings, new ways of viewing a situation that the tape has been played over so many times it sounds like it's underwater.
Right.
You know? And we all have that situation. That was one of my big revelations whenever I spent some time with people in AA years ago. That's a phrase that they use frequently, is play the tape out. It's a tape. You've been through this situation. You've made this same decision. Yeah. Is the tape going to sound different when you play the song again?
Right.
You know, it's that Einstein concept of, the insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different result.
Right.
That's the definition of
Definition
insanity.
of it, exactly.
And that's the exact same thing. Like, if you keep repeating the same thing, you're going to end up with the same result.
Right.
And you've got to learn to see things from a different point of view. You've got to learn to see things from a disconnected point of view. And much like the death card, sometimes just accept things and accept the fact that there's going to be a change right now.
Well,
and just be okay with that. Be open-ended. Be willing to be okay with whatever change happens.
I think in the bigger picture that this internal introspection or internal dialogue is something that we don't have that much today. Not intentionally, anyway.
No. We just don't have the time.
Well, but
or people think they don't have they technically don't make the time for introspection. is really much more the problem. And if you think about it, if you even go back to our grandparents' day, back to the days of the Great Depression, stuff like that, late 20s, 30s, 40s, even into the 50s, quite a bit of rural America, everything else, did not have electricity. They didn't have electricity. They were still dealing with fat lamps, still dealing with oil lamps, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Whenever we talk to our family, this from Mamou, Louisiana, a little one red light town in 2019. Yeah, man.
Red lights.
I think it does have 3 red lights now. You're right. But it's the fact of,
it's got 3.
like, when the sun went down, it was dark. There were things to fear. Foxes came for your chickens. Wolves came into your backyard. There might be a jaguarless, something like that.
God forbid.
All kinds of things. So, the fact that we have these amenities now, and we've talked about it so many times on the show, what would happen the day that we don't have them?
Right.
The day that we go back, the day that we have a double X-class solar flare and we go back to 1890 real quick, you're going to see the wheat separated from the chaff in a heartbeat. You're going to see the people that are deep and spiritual, and you're going to see the people that are shallow as hell. And you're going to see that in the people that help people, the people that provide shelter, the people that provide food for others, and the people that just guard their front door with a shotgun and go, oh, hell no, son. And how do we do that as humanity? How do we move to the next step?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, I think that's where a lot of our meditation personally now in life and in society needs to go. We need to quit worrying about ourselves so much, unless it's your physical needs, not your wants. Get past your wants, because the universe will probably not give you your wants. The universe will absolutely give you what you need to sustain you all the time, every time. But much like we said in the episode a couple episodes ago with Richard Spazoff, the second you try to impose your will upon the universe, good luck with that. I hope that works out for you, because the universe has been here a lot longer than you and pretty much knows how it works. And I think that's the problem, is so many people depend on an absolute definition of the spiritual, depend on an absolute definition of the divine and divine intervention. And if it's not done on my definition and my terms, then it does not exist. If the prayer that I've put forth is not answered in the way I expect, that doesn't work. I tried praying, and it didn't work. Did you pray for guidance, or did you pray for your will to be done? Did you pray and intend for something that you wanted, or were you saying, let the best thing for me happen to me? Let me be guided. Let me look for guidance in the world around me and the circumstances around me. Because like we were saying, just like with the major arcana, minor arcana, there's truth in the major arcana. But the real truth is in the nitty-gritty. The real truth is in the daily.
Well, the real truth...
That's where the map is really laid out.
Yeah, the real truth's in both of them.
Well, true. But it's the fact of you've got to learn to look every day. You can't just be looking for the major arcana. You can't just be looking for the message of the major arcana in your life every day.
Yeah.
You got to look at the toil of the Five of Pentacles.
Right. Well,
and hey, this guy's got a great garden, but he's standing there with a hoe, and he looks kind of tired. You know why? Because it takes, much like my spiritual director told me years ago, Chris, you're going to have to shovel a lot of shit to get good roses.
Yeah, well, it takes...
Because that's what it takes to make good roses. It's a lot of fertilizer and a lot of work.
It takes effort to make your garden look as pretty as it does in the Seven of Pentacles.
Yes, precisely. 7, not 5.
Five's not a very...
5 is not a happy card. That's the dude where it's snowing outside and there's poor people and he's toiling inside the shop. No, that's a different one.
That's
the toiling inside the shop. Yes, but that's the one with the stained glass, with the old lady and the little kid and the snow coming down.
Yeah, snow's coming down.
They look very dejected and hungry.
Destitute and hungry.
Yeah, and that's just it, though. Like, you've got to look at those moments in life. You've got to look at those moments where you're destitute, where you got nothing.
Yeah, well, we've all been there, whether it's a physical need or a spiritual need, where we've been at the bottom. Everybody's been there.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. You could be physically rich from the day you were born and never had a dollar to worry about.
Doesn't mean you're happy as a person.
Doesn't mean you've not had a Five of Pentacles moment.
That's right.
So that's I think that personal spiritual development is what really this is for. I think that's at least to me, that's the ultimate use for it. If I go every week, like I said, and have my fortune told by a card reader, that doesn't help me much.
Yeah,
it really doesn't. I may go to an advisor who reads tarot professionally to get some insights to help me break things open, situation open.
And that's what I would suggest, because number one, if you're going to have a reader, if you're going to have somebody dedicated to that purpose in your life, they need to intimately know you.
Well,
they need to know, they're almost like having a therapist, where if you lie to your therapist, that's useless. That's dead in the water, dude. You have started off with one limp foot.
And that's what I think.
You started off the journey with a game foot.
That's kind of where I was going with the Jungian connection too.
Absolutely.
There is a very big presence in the counseling and mental therapy world for things like the tarot to help access those parts of the psyche that need therapy.
Oh yeah, I could see a tarot card being used absolutely like a Rorschach test.
Yes,
all day long, all day long. Because
exactly.
I remember the Minnesota Multiphasical whenever I went into the seminary, 2-day long mental exam. One day was all question and answer. The next day is all like in a room with the therapist, and they're literally showing you pictures. It wasn't a Rorschach. It was a picture.
Right.
Tell me the story behind this picture.
Right. All that is digging into your psyche. And the lady that led our retreat, actually, that's her profession, is tarot counseling. Her name's Katrina Wynn. Just remarkable insights. And yeah, you can you look at stuff like Jungian psychology, as little as I know about it.
You should get into it, dude. You'd love it.
Everything. I mean,
I've always been surprised that you were not a Freud fan to begin with.
Yeah, but
Freud's based on Jung, and
I thought Jung came after Freud.
Oh yes, sorry, because he studied the archetypes and came up with the archetypes based on a lot of Freud's work.
Okay.
But much like people misunderstand tarot, people misunderstand Freud's cocaine diaries. You know?
Yeah, I don't know the first thing about Freudian psychology.
Oh man, you should read the Cocaine Diaries. That's some interesting stuff.
But the Jungian stuff, the collective unconscious, that right there, that whole concept. We talked about animal instinct and genetic knowledge. I really like that genetic knowledge.
Oh, it's absolute truth.
Idea.
It goes straight into humanity and what we're starting to find out now about epigenetics.
Right.
Things like cases of addiction, the fact that people are predisposed to addiction, and they've got scientific studies now that are showing epigenetic connections up to 14 generations.
Right.
So it's like if 14 generations down the line, somebody in your family had a crazy predisposition to alcohol, that could still leak down to you.
Right. The collective unconscious is a species thing.
Yeah.
This is a realm of knowledge. I like the term. This is a realm of knowledge that's accessible from the moment of birth by any member of that species. This is stuff that it's there. It's part of your genetic or special inheritance.
Yeah.
You're born with this connection to this body of knowledge. Just like I've read studies and anecdotes about this. I can't cite anything specific, but birds using sticks to trap to catch insects, and monkeys doing the same damn thing. It doesn't matter what part of the jungle they're born in or how many countries away they're born in.
Yeah.
In the same special family, they're doing the same crap.
Yeah.
It's
What
like,
did a chimp from East Africa go meet a chimp from West Africa and teach them how to use a strand of hay to fish for termites?
right?
Is that what happened?
This is. It's becoming more and more and more scientifically proven and accepted that something is at work here.
Yeah.
Something non-physical and what's the word I'm looking for?
Non-quantitative.
Non-conventional.
Almost. It's almost non-quantitative.
But
you can trace it somewhat.
the evidence is overwhelmingly there, and you can't deny it.
Yeah.
And if it happens for birds and whales and fish and apes, you sure as hell can bet it happens to humans.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
Oh God, yeah.
So the collective unconscious, I think, is something that if we stop and think about it, this is a realm of knowledge. It's a realm of insight that we have access to through our own intuitive faculties, through our own means of introspection, meditation. I don't know much about the works of Edgar Cayce and the Akashic Records, but
same concept basically. It's
right.
the fact
That's
that
what I gathered.
There is a collective realm of knowledge from all of humanity that exists that we can tap into.
Right.
Spiritually.
Call it the mind of God.
Whatever. Call it the universe. Cosmos. I don't care. And I've said it more than once on this show. I don't care what you call it. It could be the dog next door, as long as you aren't going like Son of Sam and listening to the dog say kill people.
Right.
Worship however you want. What you need to understand is the spiritual. Because the religious is what you do with people of like mind.
Right.
On a regular basis, be it on a Sunday, a Wednesday, what have you. Spirituality is how you take that into the world every day. You can go to church and hear 3 readings all Sunday. But if you go Monday through Saturday and don't think about those readings, why'd you even go to church?
Right.
Did you just go to hear some stories and have some Eucharist, put some money in a basket? Or were you trying to better yourself spiritually? Were you trying to move yourself along down the spiritual line? And I think that's where we get hung up. People get so hung up on the concept of religion, on the concept of like, oh, this is something different, so it must be part of that occult religion. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's used by those people, sure. I'm not meaning anything derogatory by those people. It's used by that group for that purpose.
Right.
But that's not its sole purpose. I mean, good God, a crucifix is used in the Black Mass too.
I know.
You know? So it's the intent behind things. It's what you're putting behind it, what you're intending for it.
The whole anathema behind...
It's the crux of the whole situation, quite literally.
You know.
It's the intent you put behind it.
And that's one thing I know that a lot of listeners who... maybe churchgoers or whatever,
sure,
would look at this and go, "Oh my God, that's the work of the devil," or "Those are the devil's cards," or whatever. And it's like, that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Absolutely, absolutely,
furthest thing from the truth. They were never originally designed like that.
Mm-mm.
No more than a hammer was created as a means to kill people. Or a screwdriver, or a drill.
Or a tree limb.
Right. I mean...
Sure is handy to do it with if you throw it in the air with Kubrickian glee after, crushing your fellow ape's skull.
Right.
But that was not what the tree limb was made for.
That's right.
It's what we use it for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so...
Yeah, this...
I don't even want to delve into that whole negative side.
And that's why I typically try to avoid that in the conversation.
Because to me, quote unquote religious objections to all that stuff, you could come up, and I did actually in preparation for the show.
You did. You got pages there, bro.
I've got like
I'm folks, y'all know that I do prep for shows, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't know.
Y'all know I do prep for shows. Randy's literally got about 30 pages.
Well, it's not 30.
Maybe 20.
It's actually 13 pages of biblical exhortations against divination, fortune telling,
sure,
sorcery,
sure,
things like that.
Very odd, though, all of the biblical symbolism in the actual tarot.
Oh, let's not even go
Once
there.
you start getting into the tower, being the Tower of Babel, the devil, the Wheel of Fortune, the Hanged Man.
Wow.
Was the card of death really the bubonic plague? There's
okay.
all kinds of aspersions like that.
Okay, number one, almost all of them
are utterly false.
Almost all of them are used admonitions against fortune telling.
Yes,
I'm not even talking about fortune telling.
No,
I'm not talking about reading the future. No, I'm talking about interior.
You don't ascribe to that. I don't ascribe to that.
No. So, it may be the whole topic for another show. Who knows? It's the sheer amount of,
fraudulent.
Oh, no.
Call me now.
Call me now. The future is in your cards.
The future is in your cards. No. Call me now.
The sheer amount. You cannot go. You can't go from one book in the Bible to the other without tripping and falling on your face over numerology.
No. Let's not even get into the first chapter of the Bible. All right, just the first chapter of the book of Genesis and the raging inconsistencies between the stories of creation.
I'm not talking about that.
I know.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the dissemination of knowledge and wisdom through the use of numerologically significant numbers.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
good Lord, the number of the beast. You're going into
not even the number of beasts.
No, you're going into the book of the prophet Ezekiel. Has a lot to do with numbers. It's all over the place.
Numerical significance, and even biblical scholars will tell you, numerical significance is rife throughout the scriptures.
Absolutely.
It's rife, and it's not anything literal. It's
No.
meant to convey a spiritual message.
Well,
And I don't want that to turn into the topic of this discussion.
No, absolutely not. But I will go a step deeper, and that is mainly because the people writing those, a lot of that came from high priests, came from that realm. And when you're talking about the study of the high priests of Israel, when you're talking about that goes straight into Hebrew mysticism.
Right.
They were teaching. They were studying Kabbalah. I mean, and I've said for years, one of the only reasons why.
Well, it's not even Hebrew mysticism; it's in the New Testament all over the place.
One of the only reasons why the high priest of Israel would have been listening to a 12-year-old Jesus, if they were listening to a 12-year-old Jesus, is because that 12-year-old Jesus was a Kabbalistic student.
Well, that's
the only reason.
Let's talk about the significance of the number 12.
Yes.
Okay. No, that's not. That's not the topic of this discussion. But my point is,
it's the fact that numerology goes straight back to Kabbalism, which is what the high priest practiced. That was the direct connection to the divine.
Yeah, and it
Kabbalistic
goes
study and
before
spiritualism.
That. It goes even before that.
But I mean, even the Hebrew alphabet is based off numbers.
Yeah.
Every letter is a number. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's hand in hand, which means
22
what you're speaking is ultimately an equation. It's a formula with an AE, folks. With an AE.
Yeah.
What you're speaking right now, even what I'm speaking, the words I'm speaking are technically a formula, which is where like casting spells, prayer, everything comes from.
This is where I'm going to leave the whole biblical thing. I'm going to drop.
Let's depart after this.
I'm going to drop this and drop the mic on that whole topic. Is that like I highlighted the fact that I printed out a bunch of stuff that forbids.
We said we weren't going to go into it.
Forbids divination and fortune telling specifically.
Right. Verboten.
For fortune telling, sorcery, and all of that stuff, which is not what we're talking about with the tarot.
No.
Tonight.
We don't ascribe to that. We don't believe in the use for that.
Well,
at least the two of us.
Right. But I forget where I was even going now.
Numerology.
I need more scotch.
You were going numerology.
Yes. That the scriptures are rife with numerology.
Oh, God, yeah.
Rife with it.
Yeah. Perfect numbers.
And for anyone to...
Numbers that distill to 3, like 12.
12. 40,
the triune God to begin
7.
With. Yeah. 7, 9.
Multiples of these numbers and all that stuff. Anyway, it's... Jesus said for a very particular reason that those who have ears should listen. And that his message was for people who understood in a certain way what he was trying to say. He spoke under the radar. He spoke in symbolism.
Absolutely.
He spoke in metaphor.
Yep.
He taught in allegory. He did not teach like a textbook. Mm-mm. He spoke and taught and preached in code.
Yeah.
And that code, that is the way that ancient knowledge has always been disseminated.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
So
he was a dangerous man.
All I'm going to say, and then I'm going to drop it at that point.
It's what happens when you're teaching Kabbalistic teaching to the common people. You can't be teaching the common people that they have direct connection to God, bro.
Is that for anyone who feels the need to immediately judge and
poo-poo?
No, not even worse than poo-poo. Admonish anyone else
for practicing or studying.
For studying. I don't even want to use the word practicing. Studying. The word
I would
study.
say practicing because you practice meditation, you practice yoga, you practice prayer. It's a discipline. It is something that you have to do. It's a muscle that you have to stretch, and when you don't stretch it, it hurts for a little while till you get back to that point.
There are stranger things in the scriptures, Horatio, than are dreamt of in all of.
Hey, bro, I'm
bastardized the Shakespearean quote.
I've told people for years. Hey,
there are layers. There are layers to that onion, and layers and upon layers and upon layers.
It's one of my favorite phrases that I tell people. Hey, I'm Roman Catholic. We believe some whack ass shit. And when I say believe, it's with a capital B. That's what's there. That's what you believe. That's what it is. That's what it is to be in line with the Holy See, SEA, folks. And it's one of those.
SEA?
It's one
SEE?
Yes. Sorry. It's like, yeah, like religions believe some whack stuff, but when you dig into spirituality, it's amazing how that just crosses all barriers.
Well,
how the teaching crosses. Kind of like if you want to get past 2/3 of the problems politically and religiously in the world right now, hey, everybody, let's try to remember Christianity, Islam, and Judaism all claim Abraham as a spiritual father. So let's start there and forget the rest. And then maybe we can dig into how all of our teachings are similar. Maybe then we can get into the teaching of love with a capital L.
That's what the United Nations is trying to do. They're trying to form a universal church based on a common belief.
Oh no, the Pope actually just said that too.
Well, of course. Anyway,
that's an episode in and of itself.
Whole another episode.
But it's about spirituality, folks. We talk about this all the time. I've literally been wanting to reboot Thinking Deeply lately because there's just too much going on in the world not to have it. There's too much going on in the world for me not to take pause and just verbalize these things and get them out. Because that's what we have to do. We have to explore ourselves. We have to understand ourselves before we can understand the esoteric, before we can understand our connection to the world around us.
Hey, do you mind if I shuffle these?
And our fluence. Hell no, man. Shuffle them loud. As a matter of fact, I need to do a quick reading. Before we go, I'm going to go ahead and pull my card of the day for tomorrow.
All right.
We're gonna chat about it real quick, and we'll chat about some of the things that I see in it.
Well, I'm shuffling these right now. Do you want to imbue your auric energy into these cards right now?
I'll shuffle. That's all right.
If you ascribe to that, I don't know if you ascribe to
Doesn't bother me one bit.
I don't care one way or the other.
It doesn't bother me either.
I'm handing over my personal 30-year-old deck.
I will gladly cut the deck.
There you go. You can
I trust your shuffle. I will gladly cut the deck and turn the card. For thus is my charge as the person with the single card reading.
There you go. You got the chariot.
And depending, here's an interesting thing, folks, because a lot of people ascribe to it, a lot of people don't. It's really probably about 60-40 of people that ascribe to the inverse meaning of a card as opposed to the upright meaning of a card. And that means that, like, you have to remember, like Randy was saying earlier, whenever the weight deck was made years ago, there were rules laid out into how you draw the cards. There were rules laid out into how you handled the cards, into how you pulled the cards. Go ahead.
That's all modern. That's all modern stuff. Wade didn't have anything to do with that. He didn't care if you.
I have always been taught that you turn the card sideways.
Yeah.
So that you do not influence whether the card is inverse or upright.
Yeah.
And to say inverse or upright means to the person being read.
Right. Well, now that's an important distinction.
Or to the person drawing.
Well, because in a modern deck of playing cards, it's a good thing you bring that up. In a modern deck of playing cards, reversed and upright means nothing.
Yes.
Because the cards are purposefully designed so that they're the same. That's why, like on a king of diamonds, you have a king's head at the top and a king's head at the bottom.
That's right.
So that when you pull the card up, it's a mirror image of itself. It's a what's the geometric reflection?
Yes, a reflection.
Something.
It is a mirror image.
It's a geometric reflection.
It's a mirror image
from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
So, but in the tarot world, these cards are all printed one way. In a deck like the Waite Smith, that has illustrated majors and minors that depict a picture. So the picture will be upright or reversed. Just like if you're looking at a portrait of your family. If you have it upside down, it's going to look completely different. There are many schools of thought that say the card means one thing if it's upright, and it has a different meaning if it's reversed. Personally, I don't worry about reversals. I never have. I don't care to mess with that.
I did for a while. I dabbled in the reversals a little bit, and then it got to where it was like, this is inconsequential to me. It's not helping me.
No.
If you're using things for that fortune telling aspect, perhaps an inversion may mean something for you. But if you're using it as a meditation, as we do, if you're using it as a directive, like what should I be looking for? How should I be looking at the world around me? How should I be filtering and processing information right now?
Right.
A reversal means nothing.
Well, it can if you choose for it to.
I don't choose for it to. That's just me.
A reversal, if a card comes up reversed, if you choose to read it that way, it could be a diminishing of whatever the interpretation of that card is. It could be the polar opposite of it. It could be the opposite energy of it. If you choose to get into it, to me, I just find it too complex, and I don't feel like screwing with it. So
yeah.
If a card comes up upside down, then I just turn it right side up and I go.
I just read it as is.
Right.
I just read it as I normally would.
You got the Chariot, which
get the Chariot.
A major arcana card.
Yeah, and it's associated with the number 7, which for me is very much, I guess, a number not necessarily of completion, but a number of attaining, like trying to attain.
Okay. Almost
for me, like something that I'm reaching for.
All right.
Is how I've always looked at the number 7. Because it's associated with luck, it's
craps.
Win or lose, it's a definitive number.
Right.
It's not like the number 3 where it's a number of completion. It's round.
Okay, so you drew this card for what?
I drew this card as just my daily card.
All right. So what do you see in the picture?
What I see in the picture, I mean, just to describe the picture for people. There is what is obviously somebody who is royalty in a chariot with a covering over him. He's got a sunlit background, all yellow. Over him is a cupola, kind of, more of a chuppah almost.
Canopy.
A curtain or a canopy that looks like stars. There is on the left side and the right side of the chariot in the background are 2 castles. He's quite obviously going down a path or a bridge straight across this river. Everything in the background is exactly the same, but the foreground is different. The foreground has 2 sphinxes, one facing left, one facing right. The left one is black, the right one is white with black stripes. The other one's black with white stripes. On the front of his chariot is a shield that's a wing with a shield and what looks to be, I guess,
dreidel.
Yeah. No, it's straight up. Look, I was going to say a top.
It's not a dreidel, but
it's not a dreidel, but it's like, hey, dreidel.
But look at it as
chance.
As yoni and lingam.
Ooh,
maybe.
Okay.
Male and female.
Yeah. Yoni and lingam, just so you know, folks, are like an Indian concept.
It's Sanskrit for Hindu.
Yeah.
For the male and female generative organs.
But this man has a very intense look. He's got a scepter in his hand, more of a staff, really. Not a club. Not a staff as in what we have, but it's obviously like a scepter that goes down beyond the chariot front. And for me, it's one that represents progress.
Okay.
I'm moving away from something that, regardless of where I'm coming from, I view it as the same. And that's how I've always interpreted the two castles.
Oh, okay.
Over the shoulder.
Okay.
Doesn't matter to me. The past is the past. It could be good, it could be bad. Doesn't matter.
Right.
My gaze is to the front. This dude's gaze is fixed. Wherever he is going, that is his destination.
Right.
And he has the two choices in front of him. The past is the same, the future is different.
Right.
You've got to pay attention. You're much like the Sphinx. The Sphinx is a guardian. It's something that's there to keep an eye, to keep a watchful eye.
It's a bearer of knowledge, too, the holder of knowledge.
Yeah.
And wisdom.
And good knowledge and bad knowledge.
Oh.
And from the past, though it be the same, comes good knowledge and bad knowledge.
Right.
And you got to look for that, but you got to look past that. You cannot let those be the distraction. They're just what's getting you there. Ultimately, it's your end goal. It's what your gaze is fixed on.
Look at the picture, though. Look at the sphinxes. Are they running?
No.
No, they're just kind of chill.
They are resting.
They're just kind of chill.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're sitting there. It's like if I'm not mistaken, their paws are freaking crossed.
Yeah.
Like they're
it actually looks almost like they're guarding something, but not quite.
Looks like they're just sitting.
Yeah. Their paws are totally relaxed.
He's in a chariot. Right. Are there any reins on those sphinxes?
No.
Okay. All that shit's there for a reason. For a reason. Pamela Coleman Smith, who drew this deck and was a supreme esotericist as a female in her own right in the 19th century, there's a reason for that. The message of this card, I'm not saying what the message is.
Sure.
I'm saying to look at what she drew.
Yeah.
Okay.
To look at the fact that the chariot is static. It doesn't even have wheels. Oh, no, it does. It does.
No, it does.
Right behind him. That's the yellow things right behind.
And he's obviously the master of it. He's got a staff.
Yeah.
He's got a canopy over him. The chariot, to me, is a card of mastery.
Yeah.
This guy's got his shit together.
Yeah. The people that rode chariots into battle were the badasses.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
royalty.
He's got the blessings of heaven over him. He's got the stars over him. The stars are in his favor.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to look at it that way.
Got a star on his head. Got
a star on his head. How many points are on that star?
You got 8.
Okay. And that's significant.
With 6 on all the stars in heaven.
I'm saying, I'm not going to get into all of that. All I'm saying is there's significance in that. She wouldn't have drawn an 8-pointed star on his head and put 6-pointed stars
everywhere else. Yeah.
There's significance. And I'm not here to tell you what that significance is. I'm telling you, as a student, if you choose to look at it, research it.
Something I've never noticed until just now, once you got into that, was that the shield on his breastplate is blank.
It's not blank. It's a square.
Yeah, but it's a blank square.
It's a square.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, to me it looks blank because it's a white field on a gold background.
No, I understand, but it's a square. There's a significance in the shape.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He's got the heavens.
Number 4.
The number 4, but if you look at the heavens over him, okay, the chariot, the overall message of the chariot is someone who is in command of their shit. Okay? For instance, the heavens are reflected in the stars in the canopy. Okay?
Okay.
It's like the heavens are over his endeavor, if you want to call it that. The Lord's blessing his endeavor. The heavens are blessing his endeavor. The shape on his breastplate is a square. The square is a symbol for the material world.
Yes. Yes.
Physical reality is in favor of his endeavor. He's got control of not only the heavens, but the earth. He's wholly integrated, if you want to call it that.
All right.
You look at the sphinxes. There's a black one and a white one. A black one with white stripes and a white one with black stripes. The fusion
fully integrated
of yin and yang.
Yeah.
Fully integrated. You've got on the shield beneath the winged sphere, I said the yoni and the lingam.
Yeah.
Okay? You've got this round disc penetrated by a cylindrical peg. The yoni and the lingam.
Oh,
the
he's in control of that as well.
Of yin and yang.
Yeah.
Male and female. This is a guy, the card, the overall message, if you're getting all of this, is and not only that, but around his belt, if you'll notice,
the girding.
On his belt are the
astrological symbols.
Astrological signs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got Taurus there. You've got Pisces. Trying to see what these others are.
Oh man, look at that!
Ooh, God, that's a couple fingers. And then even on his dress, on the pleats of his clothing, are symbols as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like you said, somebody very much in charge. That's why I've always seen that as a card of mission. Like I said, it's a dude whose gaze is fixed on the future. That is how I've always seen it, as somebody who has intent right now. Like you said, he's in charge of his shit. He knows what's going on. Like that dude, whatever's going on right there, he's in charge of it.
Yeah.
He's got the mastery of it.
Well, on his shoulders, kind of, if you call it his armor, if you will, are moon faces. On his head is a star.
Yes.
This whole card is about opposites unifying. The whole card is about this person who, through his own charism, maybe, through his own talent, through his own innate ability, unifies these things. He's someone who's in control of his anima and animus, if you want to throw in some Jungian psychology terms, his male and female. This is someone who's in control of his entire being, above and below.
It would be anima and esse.
Anima and animus.
I'm talking about Aristotle, though.
Oh, I'm talking about
Carl Jung. Your being and your corporeal being. There's a difference between you and you.
Okay.
There's a physical and there's a spiritual. There are two, and they coexist, and they're here.
So anyway, this was your card for tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Is that what you said? All right. Well.
Yeah, that's the card I need to think about tomorrow. That's the card
I would
need to look for.
say that this is
odd thing. I'm invoicing a badass show tomorrow. So yeah, I'm in control of my shit.
Well, not just control of your shit, but it's in control of your shit by virtue of being balanced. Okay?
Yeah.
Internally and externally.
Okay. Wow.
So, anyway, and that's got nothing to do with fortune telling.
No.
That's got to do with total introspection.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. It's personal self-examination.
Yeah, what we just did was literally nothing more than I would do with a therapist.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing more than I would do with a good therapist.
Exactly.
And once you get to know a therapist, they know your habits. Like I remember one of my favorite things, and I use it on people all the time. You've heard me use it. Whenever people do the Einstein thing and they keep repeating the same thing. The definition of insanity. Repetition of the same action, expectation of a different result.
Yeah, you said
my
it
spiritual
tonight.
Director, Father Andy, one of my favorite things I used to hear him say was, of course, religion is a great thing when taken in moderation. But aside from that, so how's that working out for you? Because, of course, whenever I was talking to him, I was in my early 20s. How often are you making, like, the same mistakes all the time? All the time, making the same decision and being like, man, I don't know what's going on. He's like, so how's that working out for you? Is it working out any different than when we talked a couple weeks ago?
Right.
No? Think about that. Think good and hard about that. And then I'd see him in a couple weeks. So how's that working out for you?
Exactly.
And it was the kindest way he could say, like, okay, stupid, have you realized yet?
Right.
While still being therapeutic. But it's the fact of taking the time to talk it out, taking the time to look at it, taking the time to examine things, where you are, where you're going.
Right. No, and that's
and not in a scrying way. I'm not telling people to like look at candlelight. No,
this was
in a pool.
Well, let me say this card you drew, as far as your card for tomorrow, is not meant in any way to be a prognostication of anything.
No, absolutely
not. If I
would
say anything, I would say, you know what? Hold the image of this card in your mind tomorrow. When you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, how can I be the chariot today? Yeah. How can I embody the imagery in this card in me today? Yeah. And then when you go to bed at night, say, how did I embody this? Yeah. Or how did this manifest itself during the day? Did I see anything today? That's all I'm saying. Yeah. This isn't a tool for prognostication. It's not a tool for
divination,
scrying your future.
No.
It's a tool for introspection and insight into yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I couldn't wrap things on a better note than that, because that's absolutely what tarot should be used for. I believe wholeheartedly that is what it's used for. And that, like we were saying earlier before the show, like we were just saying, a good reader is like having a therapist.
Right.
And much like people like in the movie What About Bob take advantage of therapists, people take advantage of readers. They call them with the littlest of things. Like, my dog's going to the vet. Should I get this surgery for him or not?
Right. Can you do a reading for me?
Can you do a reading? I've got to have a reading. It's 8 a.m. I've got to have a reading because I've got a business meeting today. And it's not what it's about. It's not what it's about.
I don't believe so. Other people do. More power to you.
Sure.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
L'chaim to you if that's the case.
I don't. That's not my thing.
Yeah. And on that note, dude, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. We've talked about it for so long, about doing an episode on it. I'm glad that we finally did it. I want to keep doing episodes on it. I definitely want to have you on, like, beginning of each month to do just, like, a card of the month.
Sure.
Here's something for people to meditate on, everybody. Here's something for you to check out, something for you to think about. We aren't doing it as a reading. We aren't doing it anything like that. But here's a card. Here's the imagery in it. What can we look at in our lives that month that reflect that? Well, how can we try to embody the message of that card?
And you know what? I've been on here enough. Not often. I mean, not enough. But
you've appeared probably more. Actually, probably the only person that might be in competition with you. Well, I mean, of course, Stephen Bishop would pimp slap anybody as far as the number of appearances.
Yeah. No. I'm not talking about your Austin guys. I'm not talking about your Austin guys. I'm talking about
John Paul may have you on total.
I'm not. I'm not. Right, I'm not in a competition with anybody. No, I'm just saying I've been on here enough that any listeners out there who hear this and want to pose any questions or want to pose any suggestions, I'm open to coming on and talking some more again. About whatever. So you guys put anything out on the Facebook group or whatever, and we'll do it. We'll touch base again.
Yeah, most definitely. But I'd love to start up beginning of the month meditation, something like that. Where it's like, hey, here's a card to think about for the month, everybody. Here's a little something to give you some regular daily think about. I think that'd be great.
Cool.
I think that'd be great.
Well, we'll talk about that. That sounds cool.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. There is so much going on in this world right now that we can do next to nothing about. Like I said earlier, it's literally the fact of help yourselves. Change yourselves. Change yourselves in your mentality, and those around you will be influenced by your action. Go ahead, Randy. You were wanting to say something.
I was going to say, if anybody's inspired by this to go and pick up a deck, there's a billion, literally, probably.
Go to the Dudes and Beer store, dudesandbeer.com/store, and we'll have some links to a Wade Smith deck.
Be a link to the Wade Smith deck, which is what I would recommend for anybody.
What book do you recommend for people that are trying to study more, Randy?
The most, probably the most comprehensive book for a beginner would be what's called 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Mary K. Greer. 78 Degrees of Wisdom.
Okay. We'll add that to the store into this episode post, folks.
I'd start anybody with that. It used to be a volume 1 and volume 2, and now it's a complete book, but it's on Amazon. Chris will have a link to it there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would say there are two schools of thought. That number one, you pick whatever deck calls to you.
Yes.
And that's fine. Whatever. I don't care. You pick whatever deck calls to you. Work on your inner self. That's what really matters.
Exactly. Like I said, work on you. You work on you.
Right.
The rest of the world will morph around you.
If you're going to work on tarot, at least from my perspective, get the regular old Wade Smith deck.
Yes. Yes.
Because
at least start there.
Start there and get you don't have to be a tarot historian. No. You don't have to know all the background of it. You don't have to know all the esoteric background of it. But that's the deck upon which all others are built.
Yes.
And that's the deck upon which all instructional books are built. So why not buy that book
and it's the deck that most spreads are built off of. If you're doing spreads, things like that. If you're getting into Celtic cross spreads,
we didn't even talk about spreads.
That's later episodes.
I'm not even talking about spreads.
Yeah, exactly. So. I wanted to give our audience a good primer on this, so that they would have their appetite whetted. They would be interested in more episodes, to get a little bit further, to talk a little bit more about it, because. Much like meditation, folks, you can sit back and just light a candle and watch it burn for 5 minutes, or you can go off on a transcendental journey for 3 hours. Depends on how adept you are, depends on, like I was saying earlier, it is a muscle that you flex. The more you flex it, the stronger it gets, the faster you can lift, the more you can lift. That's just how it works.
Yep. Exactly.
It is some study. It is some checking things out. And like I said, you don't necessarily have to get a book. You can get just a deck and start looking at what the images mean to you. Start looking at, like we were talking about, the little nuances, like the things in front of the chariot. Good Lord. It just left my head. They're in Cairo, you know what I mean? The Sphinx. The Sphinx is in front of the chariot. Stuff like that. Like, it's not rocket math to look at it and see what it means to you.
And the other thing is, too, just to bring it back to the chariot, there are no reins on those sphinxes. Mm-hmm. He's in control of that shit by his innate charism
and being
/ power
and purpose.
He's not in control of them physically.
Yeah. Okay? He doesn't have to be.
All that's to say is look at the details of the card. See what they mean to you. Pull out what meanings you see there. All of that shit comes from inside you. All of that knowledge is inside you. And I'm going to leave it with this as far as my point's concerned. Jesus himself said the kingdom of heaven is within you.
That's right.
This knowledge, this wisdom is part of our special heritage. It's there. It's for us. And we really need to spend time cultivating it.
Yeah. Yeah. We really need to heed some of it and at least give it its credence, give it its moment.
Yeah.
Take pause to appreciate. Randy, I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening on Dudes and Beer in this capacity. I cannot wait for future episodes talking more about this. If you like what you've talked about tonight, make sure to go on by dudesandbeer.com/store. That's where you can get the books. That's where you can get your tarot deck. Go on by dudesandbeer/knowledge. That's where you can find the knowledge vault. Until next time, everybody, remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and if you can't be good, be good at it.
With us live.
Bye-bye.
Download the official Dudes and Beer app for Android and iDevices, available on Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Breach.tv, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more about our sponsors and other podcasts on this network, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.